Dr. Toccara Nicole. But I love going by the identity architect, and where that came from was God showing me that I have this ability, these gifts. I'm going to even say calling to really help people identify what it is that they need to be building and then providing them the insight on how to do that. So I'm the proud founder of Voss Consulting and Publishing International, where I help Christian women live, unlock, and rediscover their purpose, helping them to build books, brands, businesses, and themselves. And so I coined that as the tagline as I started really entering into the space of consulting first. That was the first baby that was birthed in 2017, and then it evolved into publishing. To me, it was an accident, but God is very intentional. And so I've been in the space of helping people connect the dots, create a concept, and then launch.
I want to welcome you to Self Care Your Way to Success podcast, where we highlight women in leadership, the trailblazers, and those who are change makers in entrepreneurship. And I want to thank you for being my special guest today. And I want you to share more with the audience about what you're doing,
Sure.
how you fill spaces, and how you serve the communities around you.
But I'm Dr. Toccara Nicole. But I love going by the identity architect, and where that came from was God showing me that I have this ability, these gifts. I'm going to even say calling to really help people identify what it is that they need to be building and then providing them the insight on how to do that. So I'm the proud founder of Voss Consulting and Publishing International, where I help Christian women live, unlock, and rediscover their purpose, helping them to build books, brands, businesses, and themselves. And so I coined that as the tagline as I started really entering into the space of consulting first. That was the first baby that was birthed in 2017, and then it evolved into publishing. To me, it was an accident, but God is very intentional. And so I've been in the space of helping people connect the dots, create a concept, and then launch. And so when he showed me it's time to do all things publishing, and I absolutely love being in this space because helping people build, specifically Christian women. I do serve some men too, they slide in there, but typically it's Christian women, helping them to understand this is the framework of how to build the book. This is your foundation. Now go out and do more with it. A lot of people stop at, okay, I have a book, but, and I teach my clients, I have a book and. So the book is that foundational point. And when it comes to creating communities, it's interesting that we're talking about this because it hasn't officially launched, but by the time this comes out, it probably will be. It's called Women Lead First. So I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. We started this movement in 2018, myself and three other women. And then we kind of just was like, you know what? Maybe now isn't the time. And being the founder of it, now that I live in Omaha, Nebraska, I've really learned that women are looking for community, and sometimes some communities reject those that they need to be accepting. And so, Women Lead First is a community where we can focus on leadership, we can focus on developing each other, where we'll have masterminds, retreats, networking events, but virtually first, and then it will expand. And so we've done the virtual community, or we're focusing on the virtual community first because there's so many women out here that really want community. And so
Yeah.
then being able to figure out, okay, what cities have the most women, and then creating from there. But community is unity for me. I've learned so much by being connected to other like-minded individuals. And I can even say, as far as my growth has come from being connected to other like-minded people.
Beyond community being one of the pillars of the way that you influence the women, the Christian women around you that produce their works, their writings, and publishing, what were some of your biggest influences on having such a strong passion with building community and also helping others, like within your career?
That question just warms my heart so much. So I grew up in a suburb outside of Chicago called
Mhm.
Frankfurt, and it was a very small community, mostly Caucasians. And I didn't realize it until I became an adult, the power of community. And so my mom was a single mom. I grew up with my grandparents in the home and with my uncle occasionally. And so one of the things that I realized was the unity, even just on my block where I lived, where across the street was my babysitter and her husband was Caucasian and Italian, my next door neighbors. You go up the block and around the block, and I had so many people that accepted me like I was their own. And God really started showing me the power of the community that He wanted me to build. He took me back to my childhood and shared with me how community
Mhm.
really has been a staple within my life for so long. And so when you think about others helping each other, some people are scared to ask for help. Some people are like, I don't need help when you actually do. And there's people waiting for you to ask for help. And so community has really been a piece of a strong piece actually of the foundation that I built even within my company. I'm really big on you need this, let me go to this person.
Yeah.
I'm the bridge and I don't mind being the bridge and I want to see people win. So yeah, community is everything and collaborations even more. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother time, but
Yeah, I think collaboration has such a huge impact on how far our message goes.
yes.
Think once we get out of that competitive mindset we've all been assimilated to just naturally divert to, we
Yes.
we really can real I've started realizing how much value is in collaboration and how many just wonderful and inspired and creative people you come across. And speaking of creativity, when did you first realize you had there's an author inside of you, that you had a story you wanted to put in writing and share in your community, and you knew that it would create a residual impact? When did you discover that part of who you are?
Every time I'm asked that question, I immediately in my mind go back to my bedroom as a child with my diary with
Yeah.
flowers on it that I thought that locked. And I was an only child. And so my mom would send me in my room, whether it was go clean your room or I did something bad, quote unquote bad. I would go into my diary and I would write. And what I realized, because when I really kicked in high gear with this authorship journey and then publishing and being on podcasts like this, that question kept coming up. And I'm like, that's a really great question because I didn't realize until, you really see God, He'll show you. And so I was 7 years old and I would write short stories as a little girl. And then I remember I was a part of a young authors club at my elementary school, and they published some of my works in the local library. Then I remember my fourth grade teacher would always tell me how amazing I was at English. Fast forward, my seventh grade teacher introduced me to the concept of a thesaurus, and I would just, we don't really know how to use a thesaurus unless you really are taught how to use the thesaurus. And so she was like, change the words up. So I was like, okay, well, this is just a word that looks like it. And she really taught me the meaning of it from there. And it just been fast forward to there where here we are 12 books later working on the 13th. And so, oh, him, I tell. So when I look back at that, it started there, but my mom and my grandparents were very conscious of my love for reading, even at the age of 3. I remember we had a friend in the family who was an elementary teacher, and so she would give us books. And I remember sitting on the couch with them, and they would be, reading the book to me, and then I would read it back to them. And so at the age of 6, I was reading the Chicago Tribune, and I'm not just talking about the comic section. I'm talking about real life things with my family. And my family was very hands-on with me as a child with my dad not, being in the home. I always was surrounded by that love and that nurturing. So I'm thankful because not everybody has that story.
So many positive foundational and early developmental experiences, and it's so deeply rooted and embedded in what you do today and the value that you bring to the communities that you serve.
Yes.
Along your path, have there been any people or acquaintances you've made who have had a really huge impact on the directions and the pivots you've taken so far?
One is my fourth grade teacher, and I'm out on another TV show interview that I was a part of. And her name was Mrs. Kolbacher. And she was very kind and sweet, very nurturing as a teacher. The times even when I didn't feel included as a child because I was always the only Black kid in the school or
Yeah.
she never saw color. She always treated me with respect. And even when I was in the third grade, and I didn't know this until I became an adult, I had her sister. as a third grade teacher. And so, the two of them are very instrumental. And then now it's like-minded women who are driven, who are not in competition. We want to see each other win. I have one of my sisters, she's gonna be shocked that I'm gonna shout her out, but her name's Viola Hall, and we call each other sisters from another mister. We just connected in person for my 43rd birthday this year. My significant other, he flew her in to celebrate my birthday with me, and before then we had been Facebook friends since 2019. And so
Wow.
we connect and we vibe and we check in with each other. We hold each other accountable. We cry, we laugh, we share the joys, we push each other. And so I have so many women like that in my life that I can say, hey, what's going on? This is what I'm dealing with. And even being a leader, sometimes it's hard to find people who you can be comfortable with, and yet they still see you as that leader and they don't take advantage of she's having a vulnerable moment. No, they really are like, okay, you're human. And that's what I tell everybody. Listen, you can try to fill these size nines if you wanna. But sometimes I want to trade them in. So, really more rooms where we feel accepted and we can share and we can build together. Because what I've learned is somebody has what I need. And, going to a Viola, who's one of the women that I just absolutely adore. Another one is Ariel Griffin. She's one of my clients. And every time she greets me, it's Queen. And, when you're not used to that, you're like, "Ugh," and then you start shifting, like, okay, this is how they see you. Why don't you see yourself like that? So,
Wow.
just those type of environments. And I've been very intentional to be able to look at other women and say, you know what? It's not that I want to be you, because I don't know what that takes, but let's walk this walk together. Let's come aside each other. Nicole Lewis is another one. And when I moved to Omaha, she was one of the first women that I connected with. And it's just been a blessing to be able to be my authentic self, because I have high energy. People are like, what are you on? And I'm like, listen, I've done the work to be me authentically. And so, yeah, I just connect with those type of women that I want to be in your space. And it's more of, what do you do? How can I help? And, that's the genuineness of who I am. And, some people are like, you do too much. And I'm like, well, you do too little. Okay, that's cool.
That you have to be in this space of alignment and synergy. And the majority of the time, there's just this unshakable joy. It takes a lot of introspective thought and introspective work. What have been some of the things that you have implemented throughout your journey to keep you grounded and to keep you mentally and spiritually and physically aligned, whether it be in your personal development or how your business and your professional endeavors have developed? What have been some things that you have kept as ritual or as, your routine to keep you in that positive energy that you possess?
The first thing was for me realizing that I was off and coming to terms with, okay, you need to do something. And
Yeah.
so I'm a domestic violence survivor and over 20 years now. And I didn't realize how much that situation shifted my whole world and what I was carrying with that. When you're with someone who says you're a bald-headed bee, if I don't want you, no one else does, or puts their hands on you, or threatens to kill you, or suffocate you with a pillow, and you have to literally hold your breath and act like you're dead for them to get off you. There's a lot of mental stability. There was a lot of mental stability that I had to rebuild after that.
Yeah.
Not only that, I am my mother's only child and the fourth out of 22 kids. And so my dad wasn't around. And so it was like, I hear you, God. It was like the buildup. Things were stacking.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, what are you going to do?
So, guys, we're going to get right back to this talk. But first, I want to talk to you about the fact that I have had in depth conversations with over 100 successful entrepreneurs within the last 8 months. And the one common factor between all of these entrepreneurs is that they could use more funding and more revenue and creative solutions to bring more cash flow into their business. Well, I decided to host a masterclass Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can meet up with me where I am teaching entrepreneurs, professionals, and those who want to transition out of their 9 to 5 or whatever type of mundane and boring work that you do in order to do something more fulfilling. I want you to learn how to start, scale, and revive your business fully funded, debt free. I have pulled together over $100 million in resources, and I'm going to share my findings with you. There are grants, there are sponsorships, there are partnerships, collaborations. I'm glad you all are enjoying this talk with this amazing entrepreneur and getting a lot of gems. We'll get right back to the talk. However, I want to share something amazing with you that I'm doing, and you are cordially invited. On Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, I am hosting masterclasses where you get a guide as well. And we are learning how to fund your venture totally debt free up to $1 million in funding in 12 weeks or less. We are going to take an in depth look into where the funding is, what corporations or organizations are giving it away, which industries are making that money. And we're going to specifically work together to fund our ventures. One of my elite business solutions clients challenged me to find her over $1 million in 90 days. And I'm bringing you all along in the process with me because I want to see more than just one person access this money. With all of the success that I have experienced and all of the knowledge that I have gained from these talks with over 100 successful entrepreneurs within the last 8 months, I want to share that information with you, but you have to get in the masterclass and see what the masterclass is all about. You can click the link in the description. You deserve to be able to fully fund your venture and transition out of that boring, mundane job that you don't want to do. You shouldn't have to burn through your cash. You shouldn't have to go into more debt, and you don't have to pull out that second mortgage on your house or sell off the things that you love. There are so many different resources, and I can't wait to share the information with you. So I'll see you in the masterclass. And remember, click the link. And now we're going to return to our talk. Thanks for watching Self Care Your Way to Success podcast. All right, let's get back to the talk.
And it's like, okay, what are you going to do to knock all this down and get to the foundation of who I created you to be, not
Yeah.
situations? And so I started seeing a therapist, and it was so therapeutic. But I truly thought that on the first day that I was going to get some kind of like paddle and be able to hit this imaginary, element to like punch the pain out, or and my therapist wants to talk. I'm like, where's the stuff I saw on TV? Like, I want that, and I had to real true story. True
So
story.
you needed a radical change. You're like, I need to change the room.
Listen, I've been carrying this pain along too long. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I need something. Let's go.
That's real.
It's very real. And my therapist at the time, she was a woman of God. She was prophetic. She felt my pain. She knew how to talk to me. And I started doing the work. I'm going to say that again because someone needs to hear that. Identify what's causing the pain and do the work to get healed.
Yeah.
And I knew once I started my healing journey with my therapist that there was more that God wanted for me to do, but he wouldn't give me access until I got my hand. It would go session after session. And one of the books that changed my life, and I was just telling a client about it, talking about codependency and what that looked like. And a lot of us don't even know that we're codependent until you know that you're codependent. And so just being able to identify those things that I needed to work on and then choosing to do the work, even when it got hard, even when it was disgusting. And I would also ask God, show me where this came from. Show me where that came from. I want to get to the root of the thing. And as I did that, I didn't understand what self-care was until I started seeing my therapist.
Yeah.
Because as women, we serve everybody else. And I do me, everybody, the dog, the cat, the this, the that, the, and the list goes on. And we wonder why we are running on fumes. We're wondering why we are depleted. We're wondering why things irritate the mess out of us. And it's because we're serving everybody but self. And I realize that my personality is big. Service is my love language. If I can help you, I'm going to do it. If I got to figure out a way to do it, call it done. And so as I was walking through these steps and this stuff, I started having more conversations. Here we go, especially in the African American community with my family. I said, hey, this is this. Why? What happened? Da 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 da. And sometimes they would be honest, sometimes they, and most of the times they were honest, but then Holy Spirit would come and show me. And that's how I got my healing. And that's how I continue to get my healing. This person that people see here, it's a lot of work to me.
Yeah.
However, the purposes that God has put in me make me happy to do the work because it's way bigger than Toccara Nicole Steele. And so when I can say that and know, okay, yeah, I'm having a moment, but now moments are just that. They're not years, they're not months,
Mm.
they're not days. It's a moment. And so I figure out what tools do I have in myself that I know that I have because I've identified them so I can keep going and not get stuck. Because getting stuck means that there's somebody that's not getting the full attention that they need through us. We're needed. We are all placed on this planet Earth for multiple reasons. And that's what I tell my clients. Listen, get in position, get in alignment with your purpose. And they were like, okay. I'm like, no, seriously. There's joy, there's peace in it. And so I can talk about this for forever now.
Yeah.
But I created a book during the pandemic and it took me 28 days to write it. And it's called Identity Blueprint, Keys to Unlocking Your True Self. And it's literally the keys that God gave me to continue to unlock who I am. And I still go back and read it. And it's an
Yeah.
amazing read because it's not about Toccara writing the book. It's about me and God wrote it. And so
Mm.
we have to identify who we are and not be afraid of that. Nobody's perfect. And when I tell you people need the version of you that you show up as right now.
Yeah.
People need that.
Yeah.
And people need to see your walk. People do see your walk. Now everybody ain't gonna like and heart and share. We're talking about like social media or text you, girl, you're doing it. But people are watching. And so it's really intentional. It's important for us to be intentional with, being who we are and not behind closed doors. Like, be
Yeah.
free. And that's what people see is the freedom.
Yeah, aligning in my authenticity saves me from some experiences that I probably would prefer not to have that I'm
Yes.
sure you know. And so this version of you has been built brick by brick through all of the different phases. And thank you for sharing that with us. Even shining a light on the importance of showing up authentically in spaces. That in itself is a whole nother conversation about how we get those jewels on the journey.
I had to check a client yesterday because I'm a life coach as well. And so I tap into that when God tells me to. And I use my book to help people to walk through that. And she had said something in reference to, well, when I arrive. And I said, you already arrived. We already arrived. It's just we're always going to be walking. And she's like, and I said, listen, you've gotten to the place and space that you are now. There's just more that has to be exercised. So don't limit yourself with your words. And that's what I tell people all the time. Listen, words are seeds. You better be careful about the words that you release out of your mouth because they have to go somewhere. Got to. And so I know for a fact when you think about our life journeys, man, lean in and just be your authentic self. I'm telling you, people relate to that more than anything.
Yeah, it creates a safe space. And honestly, it separates whomever comes with ill intentions from those who have the pure ones. And I've seen it just naturally sort people out because they can only show up without the authenticity in the presence of such pure energy only for a short amount of time. It's almost like they can't stand it, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and
Right.
I thank God for that aspect of it too, because it does ruffle some feathers, but the majority of the time you find yourself nestled in these safe and secure spaces amongst people who mean well by you. So yeah, how can the audience and myself just make sure we stay connected with you? We follow what you're doing. We grab a copy of your 13 publications. Like that is amazing. And there are so many people who have a finished work brewing inside of them. How do they connect with you to get that guidance and that coaching from your level of expertise and take part in you guiding them through the publishing process?
You need to get out of my head. Let me tell you something. Because here recently, I have seen it so much more where people are sitting on the book. So I'm going to be doing more talking like, so you finished the book, now what? Because people don't know what to do. And so I'm a teacher at heart. So the best way to reach me realistically, this is my business cell, and it's strictly for business purposes. So it's 87940787. I'll say it again. It's 87940787. So if you want to book a session with me, I give people 30 minutes for free. The bonus to that is that I'm a talker, so sometimes it's way more than 30 minutes, especially if there's nobody behind you. And so if you text the words, so AHHA to 87940787, you'll get my booking link and you can hop on my calendar. My website is simply so easy, and that's a whole nother talk for another time. But all I'll say is when you're an author, there's an authority that comes with authorship. And so I'm gonna say it again. When you're an author, there's an authority that comes with authorship. So my website is Your Author's Authority, all one word.com. Again, Your Authors with an S, authority.com. And I'll leave you with, and when you see that spelled out, you'll see the word author in the word authority.
I noticed that when we connected on LinkedIn, I was like, this is a breakout. And I was so curious what inspired that, you know.
I have to give credit where the credit is due. My significant other, he said it, and it was the way that he said it. I'm like, listen, that's not in alignment with your business. That's mine. So I'm going to take that. Thank you. I'll seed into that. Thank you. We appreciate you over here at Voss Consulting and Publishing International, but we're running with that. And so yeah, and I love it because when you an author, it does something. And I tell people authorship changed my life, and I'm not kidding. It changed my whole entire life.
I love having conversations with brilliant women. That is how this whole concept came about. Leave us with something that we can glean from.
Sure, I got two taglines that I live by that God Himself gave me, and I share it with everybody. The first is choose to live a life on purpose for a purpose every single day. So choose to show up the way you desire to show up and be intentional about living a life on purpose. Be intentional. People want that. And then the second is knowing who you are as a game changer. And I coined that because God gave it to me, and He gave it to me at a place and space where I was like, my God, I do know who I am now. And it is changing my life. And I have the power to change other people's lives through continuously sharing my story and my journey and the wisdom. And so, listen, show up. Don't feel like you have to hide. And knowing who you are not only changes the game of those that you're attached to, but it changes your game too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that wisdom with us. And I can't wait to share this with my audience. Like,